The feeling is something that you're trying to hear and feel as a producer that the artist might not be feeling. And a lot of times once you hit it, it's like, oh, okay.
I get it now.
Yeah, I get it. And then we can move on from there. But it's, you know, I just want to be in the room with people that are willing to create a feeling.
Create a feeling.
This excerpt from Dr. Dre's appearance on LL Cool J's Sirius XM radio show, one of the guiding philosophies that has aided the gangster rap and G-Funk pioneer in his journey to becoming one of hip-hop's perennial producers comes into play. Step number 1, follow your instincts. For Dre, music is both a cerebral and intangible experience. Although his mind and know-how is required to make the music, he speaks of the act of crafting a beat and the subsequent arrangement and artists that help to make it into a fully fledged song in a way that feels more like it is led by how the track registers on an involuntary level than if it sounds adequately like what you've come to expect from his catalog. In many ways, this is unsurprising when you consider that the appreciation and analysis of the form seems to have been hardwired into him since birth. I've looked at pictures that my mom has of me from when I was 4 years old at the turntable, Dre once reflected. I'm there, reaching up to play the records. I feel like I was bred to do what I do. I've been into music and listening to music and critiquing it my whole life. Fascinated with the sound and artistry from an early age, Dre's devotion to the craft is so deep that when it comes to capturing the material of others or overseeing one of his very seldomly released solo projects such as The Chronic, 2001, or 2015's Compton, Dr. Dre doesn't even necessarily know what he's looking for to take the track over the top until it manifests before his ears. In the recollections of a young, bright-eyed Kendrick Lamar, Dre's adherence to this philosophy of letting inspiration strike was indispensable during his early days in the limelight.
Sometimes he already has something that he immediately hears me on, that he'll know that my flow and my cadence complement, or sometimes he'll just let me go in the studio. He got about 400 beats, you know what I mean, just pick through and see what I catch the vibe on. He all about the feeling, you know what I mean, he'll never want to rush, never want to sit with it too long about creating, unless it's one of them ones, that's for sure. So he give me creative space, man, where I can do what I do. Then he come in and take me to the next level with it, man, and it's crazy.
If you yourself would like to construct hit songs like Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, or 50 Cent, working with the likes of a Dr. Dre and other proficient beat makers, check out our 4-hour masterclass, Hit Records Hot Beats, which comes as a free bonus when you click the first link in the video description box below. But even though Dre simply allotting his name to a skeletal, uninspired instrumental would be enough to cause a promotional ruckus these days, the former production mastermind behind NWA and Death Row Records still takes as much pride in his work as he ever did. As even at this stage in the game, he still sees every beat to emerge from his pharmacy as something potentially earth-altering. In step number 2, don't get satisfied.
I'm still active. I'm still trying to make my best thing. As a matter of fact, I've had this feeling in me, it's just, man, there's something in me that needs to get out creatively. And it's crazy, you know, I drive my wife crazy with this. Man, it's just like something. I know the best thing that I've ever done is in me, and I'm having trouble finding it. I don't know where to go to get the inspiration. You know, I don't know. I know I've done a lot of great things, but I feel like I haven't done the best thing yet.
Let me ask you this. Did you feel like that way back then still? Did you feel like your next best thing is your next best thing? Like
100%.
That's it.
I don't know if it's something that keeps me going or if it's something that I can actually make a reality. I'm not sure. I hope you're right.
No, I'm right.
Because I'm chasing it.
38 long years on from first releasing music to the world as part of the world-class Wrecking Crew, Dr. Dre still believes his best days are in front of him, and that's what truly separates him from the pack. Whereas other beat makers may have a platinum-encrusted run and then be content to peddle the same sound or fall into the category of heritage act, Dre sees untapped potential in himself, and that's exactly how any true producer, whether seasoned or in their infancy, should approach music. Driven to the point of obsession, it's notable that these remarks came on an edition of LL Cool J's radio show in 2019, as opposed to 1999. Although Dre would have been forgiven for taking his foot off the gas now that he's about as financially and reputationally secure as a man could be, he still believes that every modicum of music to come out of his camp must have the same ability to potentially ignite a deep cover-sized shift in the culture. Eternally gazing forward with little regard for the past, Dre has been open about the fact that he can't even pinpoint his best track as he's incapable of resting on his laurels.
Let's talk about some of the big hits. Your favorite.
I can't. You know why? I get asked that question all the time, and my answer is always the next one. You know, yeah, whatever I'm doing next, that's my favorite. Whatever I'm working on right now, whatever I'm going to do next, that's my favorite. Because like I said earlier in this, I don't listen to my music. Once it comes out, I never listen to it again. Nobody is allowed to play it around me in my house, which is a little bit of a problem. But when it comes out, it's business. I just enjoy the actual act of creating
then
music.
it's over. Then it's over.
Once I finish and the mix is done and I sign my name, it's over. That's it. I don't need to hear it again.
Willing to treat his own storied discography as though it were disposable, Drake is the antithesis of many artists in hip-hop who are all too happy to sermonize about the merits of their own past. In this case, there's no appeal nor benefit to that when, as we'll see in step 3, it is the act of creating, not commemorating, that keeps Dre inspired. Always flex your creative muscle.
This is the thing, you know, I'm a recording artist and I just love recording. Most of the that I do is not for the public. I'm going to go in the studio and work tonight. It's just for us and how we'd like to feel. It's a habit. It's a hobby. It's a passion. You know what I'm saying? This is what the fuck I do. Just love making. Some of it can come out and, you know, be a commercial success or whatever but I would say, man, 75, 80% of this just for us, you know, just for us to vibe to and have fun with.
And just create and just feel that energy.
Because most people have this thing in their head. I want people to hear it or it's supposed to come out. I'm the opposite.
In hip hop, there is a tendency for popular artists to be confident in their abilities to the extent that at times they can take them even for granted. Think of every listless guest verse you've ever heard from an MC, or the times where you've heard about a producer and a rapper linking up and instantly got excited only for the end product to sound haphazard. For Dre, there was no earthly reason to find this comfort in his craft even when he's had all the success in the world. Instead, his approach is one that's more in line with the age-old adage of use it or lose it than it is the offhandedness with how others treat their gifts. In Dre's diligence and desire to get in the studio, any budding producer can find a valuable lesson in remaining humbly in awe of the act of creation as well as remaining productive. After all, Dre doesn't just swing into the studio as and when he sees fit, he gives himself office hours just like anyone else.
It's a straight up job. It's not everything that you see in videos. Most people in videos are fronting anyway. It's not about that. It's about what goes on in here. That's what it's all about. Coming in here, having some fun with your art, making some music, and putting it out there hoping that people are gonna buy it. That's the whole fun about it, because no matter how hard you work in the studio, no matter what, you don't know if people are gonna dig it.
Having previously compared working on his music to oxygen, Dre treats everything he does with the same enthusiasm and, perhaps just as importantly, seriousness. In his eyes, making, let alone publicly dropping, anything that'd fall afoul of what people expect from him would be an egregious trespassing of himself. So, in order to keep himself sharp, Dre doesn't just stay with a track until he gets it right, but looks at music with an encyclopedic interest. And to his mind, that's the key to the success that he's obtained.
The secret to my longevity is the fact that I'm a perfectionist, and I listen to everybody's shit. I mean, even R&B, I listen to classical music sometimes, I listen to heavy metal, I just listen to everything. And really, I listen to the whack more because I want to know what not to do, the stuff that's not selling. It's easy to pick up a hit and know what people are buying. I think I'm very blessed. If there was somebody that was struck by luck, by God, I'm one of those people, seriously, because I've had a very blessed life.
Whether he's putting in endless hours in the studio or listening to subpar tracks to learn what to sidestep, Dre will go to any lengths to optimize the music. But from his vantage point, there's one thing that supersedes everything else, and that's step number 4, collaboration is key.
Let me tell you something, man. The collaborative effort for me is everything. I've never done one thing in my career by myself. It's all been a collaboration. I love collaborating. I love being in the studio with like-minded people that understand where we're trying to go with this music. So, and that's the magic, for me at least.
Since the outset of his career, Dre has worked in tandem with others, and for him, it's where the joy resides. Back in the world-class Wrecking Crew, he combined his efforts with Alonzo Hawkins and Marquette Hawkins. After that, NWA gave him the chance to revolutionize gangster rap alongside Ice Cube, Eazy-E, MC Ren, and Yella. Once he broke out of the Ruthless Records roster and onto Death Row, he expanded his Rolodex of collaborators again and has continued to replenish them across the different eras of his Aftermath label. To Dre, the act of collaboration is essential to making something special. But on the flip side, his insistence on realizing each solitary note's full potential means that even when he's working with others, he leaves nothing to chance. By doing so, he's allowed to coax greatness out of his co-conspirators and proteges in a way that any producer worth their salt would seek to emulate.
Dr. Dre was the perfect father figure, role model, mentor, and producer for me at the time because I was young, I was raw, but I needed direction and I needed some sculpting. And he was able to shape me and mold me and teach me the right way of how to do it. And he had the right team around me. And I've always respected the fact that he was willing to teach me when I was not who I am today. You know, people see the Snoop Dogg that's polished up and shined up, but they didn't see the one that was a rock, that he's seen the diamond in me. And I appreciate him for that. I want to thank him right now for that.
A belief which has led him to affording opportunities to everyone from producers such as Fred Reck and Scott Storch to Anderson .Paak in The Game. Dre has been known to pour over songs with collaborators to the point that artists such as Daz Dillinger and Too Short have recalled how the super producer has made them repeat one word over and over again until he finds the intonation that he's after. Yet while this may seem like the work of a megalomaniac on the surface, Dre isn't trying to alter or homogenize any of their sounds. In the view of Kendrick Lamar, he's simply trying to emphasize each strength and allow them to flourish, and as we've seen over the years, it works.
What does Dre say when you come to the studio? What does he tell you?
I'm going to the first session with him. I said, what direction you hear me to go as far as the flow, as far as the lyrics? He said, just go, do what you do. He walked out the studio and just let me write and record. Come back in, when I come back in after I laid it all the way down, that's when he say, switch this up, say it like this, switch it, say it like this. Next thing I know, I'm sounding like me times 10, like I never thought I'd sound, you know what I mean? And all I can think about is the stories they used to say when he was working with Snoop. Whole style came from Dre, you know what I mean, hearing the melodies and telling him to switch it up and say it with a type of swang or a slur, you know what I mean? So it's crazy, man. Be behind them boards and coaching me, like that's real producing, not just making a beat.
Where other producers would feel the need to appease artists or massage their egos, Dre will invest the time to bring what he'd envisioned to actuality and expects you to do the same. I don't take any shortcuts, Dre remarked. I don't say, okay, it's good enough. I try to get exactly what I'm hearing in my head onto the tape, and I won't let it move till then. Possessing a superhuman degree of focus that was likely nurtured rather than naturally occurring, this brings us to the next tenet of what makes Dre an all-timer, and that is how downright single-minded he is when it comes to his craft and what his music means to pop culture. And step number 5, don't get distracted.
You can't learn if you're talking. I like to listen. So, you know, I listen and I'll speak up and give my opinion when necessary, you know. And it really depends on who I'm in the room with. As long as what I'm doing is on the mind, I'm just really trying to be an inspiration, man. I'm really trying to be an inspiration. I'm not trying to be all out there like that and shiny and all that. I want my work to talk for me. I want my work to talk for me, and hopefully the way I'm carrying myself and what I'm doing can be an inspiration. That's my main objective. Yeah, of course I've made some mistakes, but who doesn't?
Based on everything we know about Dr. Dre's process, it appears that while he has a life away from the boards, he is not afraid to let music consume him, nor become his primary focus when it's necessary. Granted, some semblance of a work-life balance is pivotal for your sanity and well-being. There are ways to let music consume you without it cordoning off the rest of your existence. For Dre, that boils down to leading with a philosophy of excelling in every area of his life. During an interview with Hip Hop DX, Exhibit spoke about some of the best advice he'd ever got from Dre, and in doing so, revealed just how intertwined the connection between the everyday and the creative environment is in Dre's mind. He told me at one time, all right, man, your outside studio activities gotta be just as good as your inside studio activities, because if you're dope in the studio, but you're an asshole in the street, you're gonna fuck up the music. So they both have to equalize the same. In fairness, this could be seen as bordering on superstitiousness on Dre's part, provides an excellent template for how any aspiring producer should comport themselves. Make no mistake, Dre is no angel and has had more than a few dubious moments in his past, but by viewing himself first and foremost as a conduit through which his music is expressed, he will always try to lead with the best of intentions. By doing that, it means that by the time he sits behind the mixing desk, he isn't having to ruminate on how he's behaved, he can simply immerse himself in what he loves. And ultimately, isn't that what we should all be doing if we want to succeed? A man who is driven beyond belief, Dre's approach is one that isn't for the faint of heart. But clearly, we can't argue with the results. So with that being said, I want to see you in the comments. What do you think Dre's best beat of all time is? I know this one's going to be hard to answer, but just give us one beat. What do you think his best beat is? If you're a rapper or producer who wants to start a full-time career, visit the video description. I've been your host, Drew Morrissey, the big homie Drew for How to Rap, and I'll see you on the next one.